A glint of silver catches your eye as you sort through a box of old change. And suddenly you're face to face with a quarter minted on the cusp of a new decade. Today's spotlight falls on a quarter that quietly slipped into circulation amid disco balls and shoulder pads, the 1979 Washington quarter, and the secrets it holds for anyone willing to take a closer look. From the moment that little coin rolled off the press, it carried stories of minting mishaps, hidden varieties, and the thrill of discovery that only seasoned collectors know can transform pocket change into prized treasures. The story begins at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, where dies engraved with George Washington's profile stamped out millions of pieces in 1979. Mint records show over 610 million Philadelphia pieces, and roughly 225 million Denver examples entered circulation, making them common by face value standards. Yet within those vast numbers you'll find elusive misstrikes and subtle deviations that raise eyebrows in auction catalogs. Proof coins from San Francisco, struck on polished planchets and marked with an S, numbered just under 9 million, still plentiful but celebrated among strike quality enthusiasts when they surface in gem grades. What sets the 1979 quarter apart at first glance is its crisp portrayal of our first president on the obverse, and the classic eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. But seasoned eyes search for doubling around the date or mint mark, a sort of shadow echo that hints at a doubled die obverse. Collectors will pay attention if the doubling is localized in the digits of 1979, or the rim's denticles, since not every example shows it. A handful reveal repunched mint marks, where a misplaced punch left a ghostly D, overlapping an earlier strike. Those almost imperceptible artifacts elevate value exponentially compared to a flawless business strike. While most 1979 quarters pass through countless pockets with only nominal value, top-graded specimens command serious attention. A specimen graded MS67, proof that it emerged nearly flawless with full mint luster, can sell for around $20 to $30 on the open market. On the auction block, a rare double die obverse in that same grade once fetched over $100. Curators of error coin auctions note that a repunched D mint mark, especially on a near-brilliant MS66 coin, can push realizations into the low hundreds, thanks to the charm of a mistake immortalized in metal. Digging deeper reveals anecdotes that seasoned collectors trade over coffee at coin shows. One tells of a coin dealer who found a broadstrike 1979 piece, where the collar failed to restrain the planchet, producing a slightly oversized disc with faint edge lettering. That discovery ignited a bidding war, ending above $200. Another collector once unearthed a grease-filled die coin that, after careful cleaning by a professional conservator, showcased an ethereal cameo contrast, blurring the line between business strike and proof. These stories underscore why experienced numismatists keep magnifiers and reference guides close at hand. Value hinges dramatically on condition. A heavily circulated example, with smooth high points and a dark patina, holds face value if found in everyday rolls. But crisp uncirculated coins graded MS60 might trade for $2 to $3. As you ascend grades, MS63 specimens often fetch $5 to $10, while well-struck MS65 coins attract $15 to $20. In proof format, a typical proof, 1979, S can bring $8 to $12 in PR65, but move into PR67 territory, and you're talking $40 or $50. Error proofs, especially those with die clashes or double die obverse, break into three-figure territory with alarming regularity. Here's a twist. Some of the best 1979 varieties were discovered not in mint sets but in pocket change. One enthusiast swears by inspecting rolls from small-town banks, arguing that smaller institutions occasionally received coins with striking anomalies missed by bulk packing machines. Another protocol involves screening sleeves of uncirculated mint sets under intense light, searching for minute blemishes, die cracks reminiscent of spider webs, tiny spurs, or faint cut marks where a broken piece of the die fused to the coin's surface. Each irregularity can send a collector's pulse racing. These mechanical curiosities extend to planchet flaws too. Look for lamination errors, where layers of the metal separate, leaving a paper-thin flap on the edge. Though not rare, a sharp, intact lamination chip can pique the interest of a specialist and, depending on its severity, could garner a premium above a standard MS63 sale. Equally intriguing are clipped planchets, an artifact of misfed blanks, that give the rim a smile-shaped bite. Discovering one in a roll can feel like finding a coin-shaped Easter egg, and seasoned collectors often pay a little extra for that thrill. Curious stories abound of dealers mislabeling these quarters for years. One veteran recounts purchasing a stack labeled common date, only to realize, under magnification, that he held a DRMD, doubled reverse, mint mark doubled variety. An impromptu authentication sent him racing to an auction house, where the lot outperformed expectations. Tales like that illustrate why experience and a sharp eye are as valuable as any reference book when pursuing the hidden gems of 1979. If you've got a small stash of Washington quarters from the late 1970s, 3 steps can unlock their potential. First, inspect each under at least 5 times magnification for any hint of doubling in the date or mint mark. Second, weigh suspect coins on a precision scale. Broad strikes tend to weigh slightly less due to metal dispersion. Finally, compare edge reading under a strong light. Any signs of deformation or double read marks signal a misfeed or collar hitch. By the time you've worked through a roll, you might hold not just 25 cents, but a slice of minting history. Whether it's the crisp sheen of an MS-66 or the slight ghost image of doubling on the date, that 1979 Washington quarter tells a richer story than its face value implies. With coins like these, every detail matters, and the line between everyday change and numismatic prize often comes down to the keen scrutiny of collectors who know where to look and what to look for. Keep your magnifier handy, because next up we'll turn the page to a coin struck in the upheaval of the 1960s, another Washington quarter that's hiding a trove of surprises. With the last 1979 quarter tucked safely back in your collection, it's time to shift our attention to a quarter born amid the social upheaval of the mid-1960s. A year when the U.S. Mint quietly navigated a silver shortage and a growing appetite for pocketable keepsakes. The 1966 Washington quarter emerged as a bridge between silver's storied past and modern clad coinage, carrying both history and hidden secrets beneath its familiar surface. In 1966, the nation was in transition. Half dollars contained reduced silver, dimes and quarters still gleamed with 90% silver, and collectors clamored to secure these precious coins before composition changes swept them into oblivion. The Philadelphia Mint struck roughly 204 million quarters, while Denver added about 202 million to circulation. Figures that seem massive until you consider the millions that quietly slipped away into coin rolls and shoeboxes. Unlike 1964 and earlier issues, these 1966 quarters bore no mint mark, thanks to the Mint's decision to remove mint identifiers on circulating coinage from 1965 through 1967. That tiny absence of a D or S would become a hallmark feature, puzzling some collectors and delighting others once they learned the story behind it. At first glance, the 1966 quarter looks unchanged. George Washington's dignified bust greets you on the obverse, while the heraldic eagle spreads its wings on the reverse. But seasoned numismatists know to weigh a coin for early clues. A genuine 90% silver quarter tips the scale at approximately 6.25 grams, whereas later clad issues weigh a full 5.67 grams. If a so-called 1966 quarter falls below its silver standard, you've likely uncovered a mistake, a clad blank struck in place of a silver planchet. Those clad-on-silver errors are exceptionally scarce, and when authenticated, they can command prices north of $1,000 in top grades. Die varieties also play a starring role in the 1966 story. With no mint marks, expert eyes pivot to the fine details. The sharpness of the denticles around the rim, faint die cracks creeping up from the eagle's tail feathers, or a slight misalignment that produces a weak strike on Washington's cheek. A few specimens exhibit distinctive doubled dies, where the date or legend appears to echo itself in a ghostly second impression. These doubling errors tend to manifest on the rim letters of United States of America, or in the curve of Liberty, above Washington's head. Collectors treasure those subtle doubling effects, and a nicely preserved example graded MS-64 with doubling can fetch well over $100. Although most 1966 quarters circulated for decades and bear the wear of countless transactions, razor-sharp uncirculated examples remain in demand. A straight-graded MS-65 coin, still boasting lustrous surfaces and full cartwheel flash, can trade between $30 and $50, depending on eye appeal. Push that to MS67, and you've entered rarefied air, with coins crossing the $200 mark at auction. Even battered pieces in good fine grades outperform face value, with VG8 examples selling for $2 to $3 and VF20 pieces bringing $4 to $6. That price spread underscores the dramatic value leap as preservation climbs the Sheldon scale. Beyond grading, true rarities surface in planchet and striking errors. Collectors who pore over bank-wrapped rolls have uncovered clipped planchets where the die clipped a sliver off the blank's edge, leaving a curved bite out of the coin. More elusive still are broad strikes, coins that escape the collar ring and spread slightly under the dies, rendering reeded edges faint or missing altogether. A clean broad strike quarter, fully silver and capturing intricate coin metal sheen, can excite collectors enough to drive prices past $200, especially when paired with a premium grade. Anecdotes about 1966 errors often circulate at local coin clubs. One veteran recounts finding a silver quarter with a prominent die crack stretching from the eagle's feet to the rim, something he initially dismissed as damage until consulting a guide. That crack, later certified by a grading service, pushed the coin's value from a routine $12 to over $50. Another story involves a batch of silver quarters mistakenly placed in a roll of clad 1971s, allowing a sharp-eyed collector to net a handful of precious metal gems among his change. Proof examples from 1966, struck at San Francisco and designated PR, number just under $1 million, making them significantly scarcer than business strikes. Those proofs exhibit mirror-like fields and frosted devices. When well preserved, they command strong premiums. A typical PR65 specimen might trade in the $50, $70 range, while a PR67 can surpass $200. Proof errors, such as die clashes that leave tiny fragments of the obverse design faintly impressed on the reverse, add another layer of allure and push values into the mid-three-figure bracket. Context enriches value too. In the turbulent summer of 1966, silver certificates still circulated. Television audiences watched Neil Armstrong's early test flights, and Washington quarters slipped from mint presses at a rate unmatched until clad coinage debuted. Each silver-clad quarter became a humble keepsake of a nation on the brink of seismic societal and monetary change. Collectors today prize that connection. Holding a 1966 silver quarter is like cradling a piece of American transition, a testament to the last glints of precious metal coinage in everyday commerce. Condition census reports confirm that only a tiny fraction of the original mintage survives in top condition. According to recent population data, fewer than 1,000 specimens in MS67 plus grades exist, a stark contrast to the hundreds of thousands in the MS60, MS63 range. That scarcity factor drives collectors and investors to chase the scarce high-grade survivors, fueling robust bidding wars at major auction houses. When a single MS68 candidate surfaces, it can spark an auction frenzy, often culminating above $1,000, a testament to how 60 years of careful preservation transform a common date into a numismatic heavyweight. Specialized subtypes further entice specialists. Look for die-state varieties where the obverse die cracked after thousands of impressions, lending a spiderweb-like texture to Washington's hair ribbons. Early die states produce sharper, crisper details, commanding premiums over later state coins with noticeable die wear. Even environmental factors play a role. Coins recovered from old bank vaults may retain original surface luster, while those exposed to humid conditions exhibit hairlines and patinas that seasoned collectors learn to classify and value. Checking rolls of common date, silver quarters can yield unexpected rewards. Smaller community banks, which order limited quantities, occasionally hold untouched silver issues longer than metropolitan centers. Collectors share tips at expos, request uncirculated boxes from tellers rather than loose rolls, as those boxes sometimes contain mint-fresh coins. A single silver quarter gleaned from that stash, complete with original satiny flash, could be the prize that transforms a casual hobbyist into a dedicated numismatist. For anyone who doubts the continued allure of a half-century-old coin, consider the record auction for a flawless MS68 1966 silver Washington quarter, that hammered for over $2,000 last summer. That sale exemplifies how condition, context, and rarity converge to create extraordinary demand. Even modestly graded pieces maintain steady interest. XF45 coins regularly attract $12, 15 bids, and collectors happily pay that to fill holes in their date runs. Before you wrap up your search, remember that true mastery comes from combining technical know-how with patience. Refer to the latest guidebooks for up-to-date population reports, connect with local clubs to swap findings, and don't hesitate to submit standout pieces for professional grading. The thrill of seeing certified grades and understanding where your 1966 quarter fits in the grand census is part of the joy that keeps collectors, especially those who grew up handling these silver pieces, coming back season after season, hunt after hunt.